Imagine this. You're watching your favorite team. They've played their hearts out, it's the 88th minute and the score is level. Then suddenly, a slight nudge in the box. A striker goes down. The referee points to the spot. VAR checks it. The decision stands, penalty. The big club wins again. You sit there thinking, if that had happened on the other end, would it have been given? That thought, that question, is where our story begins. Football was once the game of the people. It still pretends to be. But beneath the surface, something has shifted. Deep inside the structure of modern football, something is quietly, yet powerfully, changing the game. And that thing is control. Today we ask the question, are big clubs controlling football? And to answer it, we won't just look at fouls and referees, we'll look at money, at influence, at politics, at history, and at the psychology of power, on and off the pitch. Because what's at stake here is more than a few bad calls. It's the soul of the sport. Let's start at the roots. Football, at its heart, was a local game. Players walked to matches. Fans stood inches from the pitch. Clubs were named after neighborhoods. And stadiums? They echoed with working-class songs. But today, it's global. It's televised, digitized, monetized. What was once spontaneous has become strategic. What was once passionate has become professional. What was once unpredictable has become, some argue, scripted. The rise of the super club. In the past 30 years, a new breed of football institution has emerged. The super club. Think Real Madrid, Manchester United, Bayern Munich, Barcelona, Juventus, Paris Saint-Germain, Manchester City. These aren't just teams, they're corporations, they're brands, they're empires, and empires don't like to lose. Not just on the pitch, but in the boardroom. So how do super clubs win before a match even begins? They do it through structure. Revenue control, media reach, transfer, dominance, regulatory influence. Let's unpack those. Revenue control. The top 10 clubs in Europe generate more revenue than the bottom 50 combined. And we're not talking about match day tickets. We're talking about global merchandise sales, multi-billion-dollar broadcast deals, personal brand endorsements, crypto sponsorships, club-owned media channels, preseason tours in Asia, and the US football isn't sold to fans anymore. It's sold to markets. And when a club becomes a global product, suddenly the integrity of local competition starts to erode. Because now, success isn't just about points, it's about share price. Media reach. Big clubs don't just play football. They control the narrative. They have dedicated media teams. They control interviews, footage, social media access. They release highlight packages within minutes of the final whistle. They dominate football. YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. They don't just influence what fans think. They influence how they think. So when controversial moments happen, they can shape the public reaction before it even forms. And when millions echo what they see online, even referees begin to subconsciously fall in line. Transfer dominance. Each season, smaller clubs develop incredible talent, but they rarely get to keep it. Because big clubs arrive, not just with money, but with promises, exposure trophies, career progression, global fame. It's not even a choice anymore. Smaller clubs become stepping stones, feeder teams. A generation ago, a club could hold on to a legend for life. Today, they're lucky if he stays one season. And when talent is always flowing upward, so is power. Regulatory influence. Here's the part nobody talks about enough. Big clubs often have deep ties to the very organizations meant to regulate them. Former executives join UEFA committees. Legal teams find loopholes in FFP. Politicians lobby on their behalf. And in return, clubs push for breakaway tournaments. They negotiate private rights. They challenge league rulings. The most powerful clubs are no longer participants. They're partners in the game's governance. That changes everything. The referee factor now. Let's talk about the thing that makes blood boil faster than anything else: referees. We all want to believe referees are neutral, objective, unbiased, but the science says otherwise. Psychology studies show that referees are heavily influenced by crowd noise, reputation of players, importance of the match, stadium atmosphere. Even previous decisions made during the game. Now think about this. In a high-stakes match involving a superclub, all those influences are turned up to 11. You're not just calling a foul, you're managing a billion-dollar moment. So what do? You protect the spectacle, even if you don't mean to. Even if you believe you're being fair, your subconscious pulls you. And that is the quietest kind of control, because it's invisible and unspoken, but devastating. Let's talk about VAR. When video assistant referee technology was introduced, it was meant to eliminate error, to ensure fairness, to make justice visible. And at first, it worked. A few calls were corrected. Fans applauded. Mistakes disappeared. Until they didn't, because soon people noticed something strange. Not every incident was reviewed. Not every foul was seen. Not every offside had the same camera angle. And slowly, suspicion crept back in. Why does VAR step in sometimes, but not always? Why does it move fast for one team and agonizingly slow for another? Why do we still have controversy if we now have technology? The answer is simple. Technology doesn't remove bias. It just hides it better. Behind screens, behind processes, behind protocol. But every protocol is written by someone, interpreted by someone, executed by someone. And when that someone works in a system that favors the powerful, the outcome becomes predictable. You've seen it. The last-minute penalty for the global brand. The denied goal for the relegation struggler. The invisible foul that becomes the turning point in a title race every season, every league, every country. Different faces, same patterns. Now let's pull back even further. Let's talk about the ecosystem. Football is not just a sport, it's an economy. Billions move through this game every year. And at the center of that economy, big clubs. Clubs that sell the most. Shirts have the most clicks, sign the biggest stars, attract the most sponsors, generate the most outrage, because outrage equals engagement if you're a broadcaster. Do you want chaos in the league table? Or a final between Barcelona and Manchester City? Do you want a fairy tale? Or do you want guaranteed ratings? And here's the truth. Football today is built for continuity, not surprise. It's a carefully managed product. With storylines, characters, villains, redemptions, it's not fake, but it is controlled. Like wrestling without the script. Real players, real stakes, but subtle nudges, invisible hands. Now imagine this. You're a referee, called to officiate a major match. You know who's playing. You know what it means. You've seen the press. You've read the predictions. You've seen the clips shared online of your last controversial call. You tell yourself, just call it fair. But then it happens. An ambiguous tackle, crowd screaming, one team down, one team favored, and your mind flashes. If I give this, it changes everything. You pause, you hesitate, and then you choose safety, and safety often means siding with the strong. So now the question becomes, is this corruption? Not in the way we think, not envelopes of cash, not shady hotel meetings, but systemic bias, institutional pressure, subconscious influence. It's harder to detect, but just as dangerous, because it wears a suit. It quotes rules. It hides behind replay angles and interpretation. And fans? They're left screaming into the void. And then comes the worst part. Silence. After a game-changing call, no explanation. No interview with the VAR team. No transparency. Just press conferences. Angry coaches. Shrugged shoulders. And the cycle continues. Now let's take it further. Let's talk about power consolidation. In recent years, we've seen the rise of club networks. One owner, multiple teams, shared scouting, shared resources, shared influence. City Football Group, Red Bull, Todd Boehly's multi-club ambitions. This is not just football anymore. It's conglomerates. It's vertical integration. It's football as portfolio. Strategy. So what happens when these networks grow? They control the narrative. They control the market. They negotiate collectively. And in some cases, they influence entire leagues. You think you're watching competition, but behind the scenes, you're watching consolidation, fewer owners, more power, less unpredictability, and that kills the soul of football. Now imagine being a club trying to fight this. You don't have global reach. You don't have billionaire backing. You don't have a global strategy. You have local fans, a smart coach, a good run. You rise, but then your star is bought. Your manager is poached. Your CEO is offered a better job. Your peak lasts a season, if you're lucky, because in modern football, stability is only for the rich. Everyone else, they survive. And here's the cruel irony. When the underdog does succeed, they're punished. Fixtures pile up, squads are stretched, finances are scrutinized, and media turns on them the second results slip. It's not just about rising, it's about staying, and staying requires infrastructure, and infrastructure requires money, and money means becoming exactly like the giants you once tried to defeat. So what's left? The fans, the people, the beating heart of football. They still believe, they still chant, they still hope, but they're tired. Tired of watching the same clubs win. Tired of injustice, tired of silence. And some, they start to walk away because football only works when it feels like anything can happen. And when that feeling disappears, so does the magic. So now what? If everything feels rigged? If power always wins? If decisions are swayed and the system is built for giants? Why do we still care? Why do millions still show up? Still believe? Still cry, scream, dream? Because despite it all, football still delivers moments that feel bigger than the system. That impossible comeback, that 95th minute goal, that unknown striker who becomes a hero. Moments that remind us it's not over until it's over, and maybe that's what we're really watching for. Not fairness, not justice, not perfection, but possibility. Still, the question lingers, can football be fair again? And more importantly, can it belong to the people again? Let's talk solutions. Let's talk resistance. Transparency. The first step? Open up the system. Referees should speak. VAR audio should be public. Decision-making must be visible. Accountability isn't punishment. It's trust. If fans see the logic, even bad calls feel human. But silence breeds suspicion. Financial reform level the playing field, salary caps, profit sharing, ownership rules, fairer prize distributions. It's been done in other sports. Why not football? Why does one club spend $300 million in a summer while another can't pay staff wages? This isn't competition. It's monopoly. Fan representation brings supporters to the table. They are not customers. They are co-owners of the game's soul. Fan-led oversight, voting rights, transparency in club decisions. You want loyalty? Start treating fans like stakeholders. Break the cycle. Big clubs will always exist, and that's okay. But the cycle of dominance must be challenged. Encourage development at grassroots level. Protect local academies. Invest in community clubs. Make lower divisions visible. Celebrate variety. Football thrives on difference, not just dominance. The role of media, let's be honest. Media fuels the imbalance. Every article, every clickbait title, every highlight reel that skips the underdog's story, it adds up. But the media can also be part of the solution. They can choose what they elevate, whose voice they amplify, whose narrative they write. If they wanted to, they could reshape football's culture. But first, they need to want to. The future of football. So where are we going? One path leads to more of the same. Super leagues closed. Competitions club-owned media empires. Fans reduced to engagement metrics, the other path. Back to community. Back to balance. Back to unpredictable, flawed, beautiful football. But that path requires a fight. Because systems don't give up power. They only respond to pressure. And the only force powerful enough to pressure them is us. The fans, the voices, the billions who still care. Why we still watch in the end. Maybe that's what keeps football alive. Not the rules, not the federations, not the sponsors, but the people who refuse to let go. People who believe in the impossible, who stand in the rain, who sing when they're losing, who tattoo club crests on their skin, who raise their kids to support their team, even if it never wins. Because for them, it's not about silverware. It's about identity. It's about meaning. It's about being part of something bigger. Football is broken, but it's not dead. It's been hijacked, but not lost. Not yet. And maybe, just maybe, that 18-year-old kid at your local pitch, that coach on a dirt field, that match with no cameras and 50 people watching, maybe that's where it starts again. Not with the giants, but with those who still play for love. So the next time a referee gives a soft penalty, or a giant club signs their fifth $100 million player, or the same names win again, don't just rage. Ask yourself, what am I willing to do to take the game back? Because football doesn't belong to money. It belongs to moments, and it belongs to those who never stopped believing.